My name is Simeon May. I'm with Salmon Sims Thomas, Accountants and Consultants. I'm really pleased that you decided to take advantage of this on-demand presentation. Today we're going to be talking about the case for outsourcing your accounting. So as we look at what's going on in the world and look at what's going on in your church, this might be a great opportunity for you to take advantage of outsourced accounting. With a little bit of introduction. As I said, my name is Simeon May. I am a manager in the Client Accounting and Advisory Services Department, the CAS department, at Salmon Sims Thomas CPAs. At Salmon Sims Thomas, our mission is to create success by serving others through trusted partnerships. We provide strategies and solutions that add value through trust and expertise. In a nutshell, we at SST love serving those who serve others. So here's a little bit of information about me. I'm a graduate of Baylor University, Sikkim Bears. You saw all of those letters after my name, CPA, CAE, CCA. Here's the definition of those various acronyms. I am also a Sage Intacct accounting specialist. Some of my past service is I am a member of the First Baptist Church in Richardson, Texas. But it was my distinct honor and pleasure to serve the church for almost 15 years as the church administrator. And that's how I became involved with the church network, what was then known as the National Association of Church Business Administration. I became a part of the National Board of Directors. I ended up serving 2 years as the national president of the church network. And then when my predecessor, Marvin Myers, retired after 17 years on the job, the board of directors asked me to take over as the CEO, and I love doing that. Some other service that I've had is with the Dallas-Fort Worth Association Executives. I served a couple of years as president of that organization. My specialty at Salmon Sims Thomas is working with faith-based organizations. So our objectives today we're going to learn about cloud computing. We're going to talk about the evolving role of the accounting and finance function. We're going to talk about understanding integration, because that's such a basic part of outsourced accounting. I'm also going to talk about Sage Intacct, because that is a solution provider that we utilize most at Salmon Sims Thomas. We're going to talk about some of the challenges for your church. Of course, we're going to talk about the benefits of outsourcing. And then we'll touch a little bit on the issue of pricing. So what is the cloud? The cloud is not really something new. It's been around for a long time. There's private cloud, there's public cloud, and then there's a hybrid of the two. A private cloud is computing resources used exclusively by one business or by one organization. A private cloud can be physically located at your church or your organization's on-site data center, and it can be hosted by a third-party provider, but the infrastructure has to be maintained by the organization that runs it. Now, in a public cloud situation, this is the most common way of deploying cloud computing. Cloud resources like servers and storage are owned and operated by a third-party cloud service provider and then delivered over the internet. And so public clouds are used to do web-based email, for instance, like Office 365. And so the advantage of having a public cloud is you've got lower costs. You don't have to purchase a bunch of hardware and software. There's not the maintenance involved. You've got practically unlimited scalability when you're dealing with a public cloud. And then there's a high reliability, very reliable these days. So how about cloud versus on-premise? Well, more software companies are moving to a subscription basis rather than you buying their software. And I'm talking about things like Office 365 is a SaaS, SaaS, software as a service. You remember we used to purchase Microsoft Office and it would come on a DVD or multiple DVDs, and it had to be installed on your server, or it had to be installed on each individual desktop and laptop in order for you to use it. And then when it became out of date, there you had to do various updates, and your IT department may need to do that, or you had to do it yourself. And why are these companies moving to a subscription base? Well, it gets them more revenue, requiring you to make a payment each year. Wouldn't it be great in your church if you could require a monthly payment in order to keep being a part of the church? Well, that's not going to happen. But that's what these software companies are doing. Office 365 is now on a subscription. Shelby Next is a subscription service. But this also keeps clients up to date on the latest version for easier support. Now you don't have to worry about those updates. Those updates typically just come to you automatically and you don't have to think about it. So what are some reasons to move to the cloud? Well, first of all, you can work from anywhere. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. We're all working all over the place. The great thing about Simon Sims Thomas is that when COVID-19 hit and we all had to go home to work, we didn't miss a beat because our firm was ready. We were already working from anywhere. We would obviously utilize the office for in-person meetings and those kind of things, but it wasn't necessary, and it's still not necessary because we already had the hardware and the mechanisms in place where anybody could work from anywhere. Yes, some people may have needed another computer monitor at their house or some other hardware at their house to make it more a workable situation. But we were ready and we didn't skip a beat when we all had to go home from the office. So one reason to move to the cloud is you can work from anywhere. Another reason is to minimize costs. This can be a great economic benefit. It takes significant capital expense when you're running locally. You may have remembered the time when we had systems that had to be put in special rooms with special air conditioning and had a lot of extra costs regarding that. Well, now with the cloud, you don't have to worry about those kind of things. Easy updates. The installation process can be a tiresome process, and now you've got easy updates, no problems at all. These service companies do this for you. Automatic and regular backups. With any system, there are no guarantees about your backups. But if you're working in the cloud, you don't have to have a team to do backups. You don't have to do backups yourself. You don't have to really even think about them because it now becomes the responsibility of another party to take care of those backups for you and keep the systems running. There's better support from the cloud. Let's say you got an on-premise setup and these companies are trying to support multiple systems. And so let's say you've got a particular software and this company has one client on version 4 and another client on version 7 and another client on version 10. And those are all still viable versions that they're having to support. And this provides, now when you go to the cloud, you get better support because everybody is on the same version and they don't have to keep providing backup and service for these multiple different systems they have. Everybody is on the same system, so your support becomes so much better. One of my favorite parts about moving to the cloud is paperless accounting. I don't know about you, but I don't like paper. I want things in a searchable digital format. When I take notes, I don't write them on a piece of paper. I like to write them in Word or in OneNote. I love Microsoft OneNote, so that I can go back and do a search and find what I've written down in a digital format, not in a paper format. Well, in accounting systems have required a lot of paper. You've got invoices, you've got checks, and you've got other things that can just clutter an office and fill file cabinets, and you don't have to do that anymore. A part of that is through this next bullet point, integration. We're going to talk later on about integration with other systems like using Nexonia or Expensify to track expenses, using bill.com so that you don't have all those invoices in paper format. So we're going to deal with those, and that's another great reason to move to the cloud. And then finally, there's collaboration. It's wonderful to be able to see what others are doing and work with others in real time, live and in real time. It's great to be able to collaborate in those ways and work together. So that is another great reason to move to the cloud. Now we're going to talk about the evolving role of the accounting and finance function. So previously in the accounting systems, you recorded transactions, and then you had to manage the accounting month-end close or quarter close or yearly close, create financial reports, and it's always been a backward-looking function. This is what we did. This is what happened last month. This is what happened last quarter. But now we need to shift our focus. And the thing that we are able to do now is you can look at real-time data. You're not just looking backward. You can look at real-time data where you are now. It streamlines the processes that we're dealing with. It gives you an opportunity to interpret your financial information better. You can see in dashboards how you compare with other KPIs, key performance indicators, KPIs. And this data can provide you then with strategic insight as to how you are operating and how you can operate in the future. So there's a significant shift here in our focus in accounting. And one of the things that has happened as we have entered this era of COVID-19 is we've had a major shift in the way we operate our churches. I know churches that have given up on their annual budget for the year because we're now in a new world. The budget that they created pre-COVID is no longer applicable. We've had to turn on a dime. Some people are doing 2-month budgets. Some people are doing a 6-month budget. But they are not relying on the budget that they approved before COVID because it is not valid anymore. I want to talk with you about the Sage Intacct accounting system. Sage Intacct has a wonderful nonprofit focus. And Simon Sims Thomas made a decision long before I came on board not to try to support all accounting systems. It just became too difficult with all of the nuances of various accounting systems. And so in the outsourced accounting department at Simon Sims Thomas, the decision was made that if you want us to be your outsourced accounting department, we are going to move you to either Sage Intacct or to QuickBooks Online, and we're not going to try to support so many different systems. So if you're on Shelby Next, or if you're on ACS, or if you're using Aplos, and you want SST to be your outsourced accounting department, we're going to move you to Intacct or QBO. It was just becoming too problematic to keep up with so many systems. But Sage Intacct has a great faith-based ministry solution. And with Sage Intacct, you can automate revenue recognition. You can allocate your spending to the various programs that you have. You can see transparency with disclosures and dashboards. You can get that real-time visibility that we talked about with dashboards and reporting. And we're going to talk a little bit more about dashboards as we go forward. One of the great things about Sage Intacct is its integration with other solutions. Your donor management system, your donor system, it could be a planning center. Some of our business clients, not nonprofit clients, but some of our business clients use Salesforce as their donor management system. And these systems, Sage Intacct has the APIs available to integrate these systems into your accounting system. Budget preparation. Budget preparation is terrific with inside Sage Intacct. But if you're a really large organization, you may want to take advantage of another budget preparation tool. Well, one of the exhibitors for the church network is Martis Solutions. Martis has a great budget planning package, and it integrates into Sage Intacct. Many of you are already outsourcing your payroll to third-party vendors, and many of these vendors allow integration with Sage Intacct or with QuickBooks Online. There's just so many ways to work and to have better processes involved in your accounting solution. So today's solutions include dashboards. These dashboards can provide so much good information. Mobility. You have the ability now to see your accounting on a tablet, on your smartphone. You're not just limited to sitting at a computer screen in order to access the information. Real-time integration is such a vital part of moving to a cloud solution or even an outsourced accounting solution, is that ability to have the integration with other services. And as I've mentioned, key performance indicators are things that can be included in your service. So let's talk about one of these services now, Bill.com. Bill.com helps customers save time and money by streamlining your accounts payable process and eliminating that paper that we've already talked about. Here's a particular case study with the controller of TED. We're all familiar with TED Talks. This gentleman is the controller of TED conferences. He said, when I started working here 2 years ago, we were still writing physical checks and mailing them out one by one. By moving to Bill.com, we've decreased the time it takes to complete our accounts payable processes by 60%. We're thrilled with the new capabilities and the automation. We've heard nothing but great things from our vendors. Since we're a nonprofit, we get audited every year. This year, we were able to give the auditors view-only access into Bill.com. The audit process became much simpler and faster than before, both for the auditors and for our AP team. So here's a look at a typical accounts payable process that's inefficient. There's a lot of manual work. There's a lot of extra costs. It opens the door to risk. So you get bills, paper piles up, you've got manual entry, you may have a messy chain of approvals, things are routed incorrectly or delayed. There's a lot of human interaction. Then you finally get your payments entered into the system. You got to write checks. You got to find somebody to sign the checks and mail them out. And so everything is time consuming and it's fraught with risk. When you have a solution like Bill.com, you can get their bills into the Bill.com inbox. Bill.com automatically codes the bills, and then you can review to make sure that those codings are already correct. Then you can set up an approval process. So you can have different people from different departments who have to say, yes, this is okay. And then it moves to the next person to say, yes, this is okay. And they can reject it or they can correct it. And then it can be moved on to finalize the payment process. The payments are secure because you're not sending out checks with your banking routing number and your bank account number on them, which can create its own set of security issues. But Bill.com is going to send the payments using their numbers, not your numbers. And then when it comes to reconciliation, Bill.com is automatically integrated with your accounting system. And when I'm talking accounting systems, I'm talking Sage Intacct and I'm talking QuickBooks Online, QBO. They're already integrated, and so when it comes time to do the reconciliation, it is just a matter of going through and matching and making sure everything is okay and you're good to go. I highly encourage you to use an automated accounting system. Bill.com is not the only one. It's the one we use. It's the one that a large number of companies use, as you saw on the previous screen. But it is perfect for this day and age of coronavirus and people working from home, because everything is done online in the cloud. The invoices are either scanned into the system and sent to Bill.com, or they're automatically sent from your vendors directly into Bill.com. So you don't have the paper, as we've already discussed, and it is a safe, simple, effective, and secure system to use. I also want to talk to you about Nexonia for tracking expenses. We all have people who are ministers who are doing things that create expenses that need to be either reimbursed or need to be matched to your church's credit card bill. And Nexonia is a great solution for this. Expensify is another good one. I'm just using Nexonia in this particular example, but I have a church client that uses Expensify. It's very similar to Nexonia, and it also integrates with either Intacct or QBO. But in this case, you can do either reimbursable expenses or non-reimbursable in the case of those that have to match up with your credit card statement. But Nexonia allows an individual, for example, let's say that, not many people are going out to eat with church members at this point, but as an example, if a minister took a church member out to eat, as soon as that meal is over, that minister can take a picture of that receipt with his or her smartphone, enter it into the Nexonia system, code what the purpose was, code it for your various accounts, for the appropriate accounts, and submit it directly into Nexonia. Now it's in your system for approval process, for matching to your credit card bill, or for providing reimbursement if it was a personal credit card. The journal entries are automatically made for you, and it is a great, quick, time-saving way to track expenses and to be secure. You know, one of the big problems that so many churches and nonprofits have had with credit cards is getting receipts, having accountability, and doing it all in a timely basis. And Nexonia and Expensify are great solutions for solving that problem. So we've talked about dashboards, and here's dashboards that I wanted to share with you as just some samples that you can do through the Sage Intacct system in this case that we're looking at. And the first thing I want you to notice is that the graph at the top left says worship attendance trends. And you're going, wait a minute, I thought we were talking about accounting. What does worship attendance tracking have to do with it? Well, one of the features of Sage Intacct is that you have the ability to track non-financial items, such as worship attendance. The graph at the bottom right shows other types of data that you could track. Here we're seeing baptisms and first-time guests in this particular graph. The other graphs show weekly giving. Again, at the bottom left, we're seeing attendance trends broken down by group. And then at the top, you can see some information about how giving may compare to budget and so forth. These are wonderful dashboards already built into the Intacct system. Here's some more examples. Here you see a typical graph of tracking giving, actual versus budget. And then you see some typical financial statement kind of data here. Statement of activities, the current month versus the budget. Statement of activities, your fiscal year versus the budget, and the remaining budget. And what I wanted to point out to you is that these account names that you see in blue, you can click on those and drill down to see more granular data about what makes up these top level accounts and amounts. Based organizations trust Sage Intacct. In fact, per this information that they provided, over 32% of their clients are nonprofits. And you probably recognize some of these names: Gateway Church, Seacoast Church, First Baptist Church of Frisco, Texas, and other faith-based organizations here that are already taking advantage of Sage Intacct. This is Glenwood. Glenwood is no stranger to the members of the church network. Glenn hosts our Metro group. Glenn is the recipient of the Marvin Myers Award in 2009. I also presented Glenn with a CEO award in 2012, specifically for his work with the Metro group. But he's also Mr. Excel. If you've been reading the Church Network's magazine, it's now called the TCN Professional Journal. He is Mr. Excel and the guy that writes the articles that are presented in the journal. But I want you to hear specifically from Glenn about Sage Intacct.
One of the things that Sage Intacct brings to the table is their commitment to the nonprofit segment. Even in the 5 years that we have been with Sage Intacct, their commitment and the changes that they've made specific to nonprofits have been huge. My name is Glenn Wood. I'm the pastor of church administration for Seacoast Christian Community Church. Before we moved to Sage Intacct, we were on Shelby, version 5, and so it was designed for 500 to maybe 1,000 to a couple thousand people. And when we started, we were within that size. But again, as we grew and as our chart of accounts got more complex, and as we did multi-site, there's just a number of challenges that came out, and really kind of got to the point that it just wasn't managing the data well. I mean, what we were having to do was to take everything out of Shelby, put it into Excel, integrate other data with it to create percentages that we wanted to create, just that were not inherent within the system. And then the more times you touch the data, especially outside of the software program, the greater your chance of keying errors and having challenges. And so we did an extensive evaluation of programs that were out there, trying to figure out what works well with multi-site churches, what works well with churches of our size. Made a lot of calls to references, and when we would call an intact church, we got long flowing descriptions of how well it was and how great it did, and all the benefits of it. And when we would call the other packages, we just got, yeah, we use it. Having a partner like Act 2 to work with through the whole implementation was very positive. Number one, they truly understood Intacct and what it can do. They also understood churches. There are some uniqueness of fund accounting and working on nonprofits. So having somebody that understood that was a tremendous benefit for us. With Intacct, the thing that I like is that it's all together. I can have statistical information, I can have financial information, I can have a dashboard, I can have it all in one place, and there's been some huge efficiencies just in terms of hours that we're able to keep everything together and get our staff connected that way. As a finance professional, I guess one of the things that it means to me is that I know that there are other churches in the nonprofit segment and other ministries that I can call for help or for advice on how they look at data. It helps give me comfort that we have partnered with the right software vendor and with the right partner to help implement it. Just very happy with the nonprofit segment that Sage Intacct has.
I want to thank Glenn Wood for that great information, and I want to thank Sage Intacct for giving us permission to share that with you. So the question now is, why outsource your accounting? Well, first of all, let's talk about some of the challenges that your church might face as you consider moving to an outsourced situation. The first issue is change. A lot of people are resistant to change. Trying to change from an in-house situation to an outsourced situation could be a big challenge in your church. Another issue is staff turnover. Just when you get that bookkeeper trained, that accounts payable clerk, that donations clerk, just when you have that payroll person trained the way you want to go, they may move on to another situation and you're left trying to fill that void. So staff turnover is definitely a challenge that you may face. But when you outsource, the staff turnover issue goes away because the firm that you've chosen to outsource to is the one dealing with any possible staff turnover, but they have controls in place and training in place to allow for a smooth transition, whereas a staff turnover within your staff might not be so smooth. Manual workflows. We've talked about this already and talked about how processes can now be automated, but one of the challenges you may be facing is manual workflows and the errors that can be made in the manual processes that you have. And one of the beauties of outsourcing your accounting is to eliminate many manual functions and get it into an automated situation. Another challenge is you may have untimely reports. And as we've already talked about, one of the things of traditional accounting systems is this constant looking backward issue rather than looking where you are today or looking forward and making informed decisions about your ministry. Your reports may not be meeting your needs. Another challenge is just old systems. You're using an old proprietary system. You're using a system that is difficult to upgrade and it's costly to upgrade, and the upgrades are not timely, and there's a support challenge. And so these are the challenges that a lot of churches face: change, staff turnover, manual workflow, untimely reports, and just old outdated systems. So how do you know if the cloud is right for your organization? Well, let's consider several questions. Does my team need to work remotely? Well, I think we can just about all answer that question yes, in the light of the current world in which we live. Do we need to accelerate financial processes and enhance reporting? Are our current processes inefficient? Is the month-end close delayed due to bottlenecks or because of single user access to the system? Do managers and program leaders need visibility into role-based budgets and reports? Does my organization want to strengthen data security and internal controls? Are we concerned about inconsistent, unreliable backups? Does my team struggle with multiple versions of data stored in different locations? Does my organization utilize other applications that could be easily integrated into a cloud-based accounting system? We've talked about Nexonia and Expensify and Bill.com, but there are other applications out there that could be integrated as well. Could we benefit from the scalability of SaaS by purchasing what we need now and customizing for future growth? And finally, is my organization open to change? If you answered yes to some or all of these questions, then there is likely a cloud-based solution for your organization. Shifting to cloud systems saves time and energy, enhances data security, increases accuracy, and allows for streamlined reporting and encourages continuous collaboration. The time to make the shift to cloud-based accounting solutions is now and can be done virtually and incrementally. So when we talk about optimizing your accounting and finance team, we're really looking at three staffing options. You can have an in-house team. You can have some contractors doing part of the accounting function, or you could fully outsource the entire operation. And so here's a typical situation. You got a chief financial officer. Maybe you are the chief financial officer. Maybe you're also the controller. Maybe you're also the accounting manager. And then maybe you have others who are helping with a donation system, accounts payable, and payroll. The typical cost of the finance function of a nonprofit organization runs anywhere in the 3 to 5% range of annual revenue. So as we look at the pricing involved in outsourcing your accounting, there's three ways to go here. There are hourly fees, where you just pay the outsourced firm for the time involved. There's a fixed fee version, and then there's a combination. And the fixed fee version is the pricing structure that we prefer at SST. That way we can set a fixed amount for you. That way you can feel secure in your budgeting on a monthly basis. As a firm, we may spend more time on your account one month. We may spend less time on your account the next month. It all kind of comes out evenly. If at some point in time we discover that the fixed fee is not adequate or the fixed fee is too much, then we can go in and make an adjustment at that point. And in the combo situation, when we agree upon a fixed fee, we also agree upon a set list of services. We're going to provide you with an engagement letter that would need to be signed. And I don't mean just we, any CPA firm is going to provide you with an engagement letter that outlines all the services that are to be provided for a particular amount. But then there may be circumstances that arise that are outside of the engagement, and that's when hourly fees come back into play. For instance, here recently we've had the PPP loan application, and we're about to enter into the PPP loan forgiveness time period. And so your firm may choose to try to cover those costs within the fixed fee, but that might be likely that there needs to be an additional fee tacked on to cover you in these situations. So there may be an hourly fee involved in additional agreed upon procedures such as PPP. And so there we have the hourly fees, fixed fees, and the combination where you've got a fixed fee for services and a fixed fee for some of these cloud-based software solutions that we talked about, and then the hourly fees. So what's the next step? Well, you want to make sure that you find a professional that has the experience to bring all of the right parties together, the right solutions together, that you can feel comfortable with and that can meet the needs of your organization. In light of the coronavirus, an outsourced cloud accounting solution has a significant number of benefits. With your accounting systems in the cloud, outsourcing some or all of your accounting operations becomes a great way to eliminate costs, decrease risk, and free up time for you to focus on your mission. A provider of cloud-based systems can easily maintain your records remotely at a fraction of the cost of hiring someone internally. Not only that, but you get a full-service team, including virtual CFOs. Additionally, because these providers deploy teams, not individuals, and because they're already utilizing a work from anywhere model, their operations have a very low risk of being impacted by the virus. Even without the coronavirus, outsourcing is a great option. You should consider outsourcing anything that is not a core competency of your church, so the church can focus on mission and ministry. Just think about actually having the ability to manage your church, confident that the books are right and that you have a team of experts behind you to help your ministry make sound financial decisions. I just want to say a final thank you. Because this is a recorded presentation, you didn't have the opportunity to interact with me or to submit questions. So here you will see my email address and my cell phone number, and I would be happy to talk with you anytime. Thank you to Phil Martin and the Church Network Blessings on you and your work. Thanks for joining me today.